Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you feel manipulated, yet you can't quite put your finger on it? This is a common experience for many people, and it lies at the heart of emotional manipulation. Emotional manipulation is a covert, insidious form of control and dominance. It's a psychological tactic that involves the exploitation of others' feelings to serve the manipulator's agenda. When mastered, it can be so subtle that the manipulated person may not even realize what's happening. Imagine a puppeteer pulling the strings of a marionette, making it dance to their tune. That's what an emotional manipulator does. They pull your emotional strings, playing on your fears, insecurities, and vulnerabilities to make you act in ways that benefit them. This isn't about blaming or finger-pointing, it's about understanding the dynamics at play. Emotional manipulation can be practiced by anyone regardless of gender, age, or relationship status. However, in this video, we're focusing on techniques that are commonly used by women. Why? Because understanding these techniques can help us better navigate our relationships and protect ourselves from being manipulated. Women, like men, are capable of using emotional manipulation techniques. Some of these techniques could include things like the silent treatment, playing the victim, and gaslighting. They can be incredibly damaging, causing emotional harm, undermining self-confidence, and fostering dependency. These techniques are not exclusive to women, of course, but understanding them can provide valuable insights into the dynamics of emotional manipulation. It's important to remember that not all manipulators are conscious of their behavior. Some may be acting out patterns they've learned without realizing the harm they're causing. Knowledge is power, and being aware of these techniques can help you recognize when you're being manipulated and give you the tools to protect yourself. It's not about becoming paranoid or distrusting everyone around you. It's about being informed and understanding the dynamics at play so you can foster healthier, more balanced relationships. Stay tuned as we delve into the different techniques of emotional manipulation. Imagine being in a relationship where your partner gives you the silent treatment whenever you disagree. Now let's dive into a real-life case study. Picture this. Jane and John have been dating for a couple of years. John is a kind-hearted man who always aims to keep the peace. Jane, on the other hand, has a knack for using silence as her weapon of choice. Whenever they disagree, Jane retreats into a shell of silence, leaving John in a sea of uncertainty and guilt. This is a classic example of the silent treatment, a form of emotional manipulation that is as subtle as it is destructive. But how exactly does it work? Well, the silent treatment aims to achieve one thing: control. By withholding communication, the manipulator creates an imbalance of power. They essentially hold the relationship hostage, leaving the other person feeling anxious, guilty, and desperate to resolve the issue. In Jane and John's case, Jane uses silence to make John feel guilty about their disagreements. John, eager to return to a state of peace, often finds himself apologizing, even when he isn't at fault. Over time, this erodes John's self-esteem and makes him more susceptible to Jane's manipulation. The silent treatment also serves another purpose. It conditions the person on the receiving end to avoid conflict. They start associating disagreement with the pain of being ignored, and they begin to suppress their own needs and opinions to maintain harmony. John, for instance, might start agreeing with Jane more often, just to avoid the cold shoulder. The silent treatment, despite its seeming passivity, is a powerful tool. It can cause significant emotional distress and can be used to manipulate and control relationships. But remember, the silent treatment is just one technique. It's part of a manipulator's toolkit, and they often have many more at their disposal. The silent treatment is a powerful tool in the manipulator's arsenal, but it's not the only one. Have you ever encountered someone who always seems to be the victim, no matter what the situation? Well, let's dive into a real-life case study to illustrate the cunning art of victim playing. Picture this: you're friends with someone who constantly has a tale of woe. Every conversation you have, they seem to be on the receiving end of some great injustice. You find yourself feeling sorry for them, and before you know it, you're bending over backwards to make their life easier. Sound familiar? This is the technique of victim playing. Victim playing is a powerful tool used by emotional manipulators. It's a strategy where an individual presents themselves as a victim of circumstance or someone else's behavior in order to gain sympathy or favor. They portray themselves as weak, oppressed, or in need, thus compelling others to come to their rescue. Our case study revolves around Jane. Jane always seems to be having a hard time. She's always under stress, always dealing with a crisis, and she's an expert at sharing her woes in a way that elicits sympathy. Her friends, being the kind-hearted souls they are, often find themselves doing things for Jane that they wouldn't ordinarily do. They give Jane their time, their resources, and sometimes even their cash, all because Jane has mastered the art of playing the victim. But here's the catch: Jane isn't really a victim. She's an emotional manipulator. She's using her friends' empathy and kindness as a means to get what she wants. And the worst part? Her friends are none the wiser. They believe they're helping a friend in need, not realizing they're being manipulated. Victim playing is a subtle, yet powerful form of emotional manipulation. It's not always easy to spot, and it's even harder to counteract because it plays on our natural instinct to help others. But awareness is the first step towards countering such manipulation. If you find yourself constantly rescuing someone from their self-proclaimed woes, it might be time to take a step back and assess the situation. It's a cunning game, isn't it? But there's more to emotional manipulation than meets the eye. What if someone made you question your own sanity and perception of reality? This isn't a plot of a psychological thriller, but a technique of emotional manipulation called gaslighting. Picture this. You're in a relationship with someone, and they start subtly changing the narrative of your shared experiences. They insist that something happened differently than you remember, or that you're overreacting to a situation. At first, it might seem like a misunderstanding, but as time goes on, you begin to doubt your memory, your judgment, and ultimately your sanity. This is gaslighting, a manipulative tactic where the perpetrator creates a false narrative to make the victim question their own perception of reality. The term gaslighting is derived from the 1944 film Gaslight, where a man manipulates his wife into believing she's going insane. Let's delve into a real-life case study. Consider a couple, let's call them Anna and Mark. Anna is constantly told by Mark that she's forgetful even when she's certain she's not. Mark moves her belongings and tells her she misplaced them. He dismisses her feelings, saying she's too sensitive or imagining things. Over time, Anna starts doubting her memory and judgment. She becomes anxious, confused, and dependent on Mark to define her reality. Gaslighting is not only confined to romantic relationships. It can occur in any relationship, including family, friends, and work environments. It's a slow process that gradually erodes the victim's confidence and self-esteem, making them more susceptible to further manipulation. The dangers of gaslighting are immense. It can lead to mental health issues like anxiety, depression, and even post-traumatic stress disorder. The victim might withdraw from their loved ones, feel isolated, and lose their sense of self. So, how can one identify gaslighting? Look out for signs like constant self-doubt, feeling confused and crazy, finding it hard to make simple decisions, frequently apologizing, and feeling isolated from friends and family. Gaslighting is a potent form of manipulation, one that is often hard to detect, but by understanding it, you can equip yourself to recognize and counter this insidious form of emotional manipulation. So, now that you know some of the techniques, how can you protect yourself from emotional manipulation? Navigating the complexities of human interaction isn't always a walk in the park. We've just discussed 4 common types of emotional manipulation. The dark side of emotional manipulation, the silent treatment, victim playing, and gaslighting. The first step to protecting yourself is recognizing these techniques in action. Pay attention to how you feel during conversations. Do you often feel guilty, confused, or belittled? Those could be signs that manipulation is at play. Often, emotional manipulators play on your insecurities, using them as tools to control you. So keep your self-esteem high, and don't let anyone make you feel less than you are. It's important to trust your instincts too. If something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. Don't dismiss your feelings as overreactions. They are your strongest defense against manipulation. Countering emotional manipulation can be tricky, but not impossible. The most powerful weapon you have is your voice. Speak up. If you feel something is unfair, say it out loud. Manipulators thrive in silence, and your silence might be mistaken for consent. Assert your boundaries, make it clear what you will and won't tolerate. Also, remember that it's okay to say no. You don't have to agree or comply with everything. Your needs, feelings, and opinions are just as valid. If someone constantly dismisses or invalidates them, it could be a sign of manipulation. One of the most effective ways to counter manipulation is by seeking outside perspective. Talk to friends, family, or professionals about your concerns. They can provide a fresh viewpoint and help validate your feelings. To sum up, protect yourself by recognizing the signs, trusting your instincts, asserting your boundaries, and seeking outside help. Emotional manipulation is a serious issue that can significantly impact your life. Remember, knowledge is power. Stay informed, stay strong, and don't let anyone manipulate your emotions.